Yo, what is up, Crocs and clan members and my fans and other super stomp on this video? I'm SoresanCrockxen, and today is going to be the second viewer requested video for Viewer Friday. So there's only two of them, so this is technically the last one of today. And it's going to be another request from SoresanCrockxen talking about the new Yu-Gi-Oh movie that's going to come out in 2016. Let's go. Alright, so this movie is coming out in 2016, as I said. It is going to be centered around Yugi and Seto Kaiba from the original series as a way to celebrate 20 years of the franchise. That's great. That's amazing. So SoresanCrockxen basically wanted me to give my thoughts on this, maybe a couple of expectations on this thing. So Yu-Gi-Oh, for those of you guys who don't know, was part of the big three back in the 90s. In the 90s, you had Yu-Gi-Oh, you had Pokemon, and you had Digimon. Those are the big three from that era. Now, Pokemon has always been my favorite. Digimon was kind of like the counterpart of Pokemon, and then Yu-Gi-Oh was kind of its own entity of the trio, and it was like its own separate thing. But the whole point is all three of them were made as a marketing ploy to sell a product. Yu-Gi-Oh being cards, Pokemon the video games, and Digimon a mix of both. Digimon was the weirdest one, but Yu-Gi-Oh was essentially its whole purpose as a marketing ploy to sell cards. The card game is very successful. I don't know how big it is anymore, but back then it was amazing. I used to have, I still have the cards too, but I used to have like 3 or 4 decks. Now, most of them probably would never work anymore. In fact, I don't even remember how they were structured back then because the cards are all jumbled up now. But I used to have around 4 decks back in the day. And so that was the whole point of the series, is to try to sell more cards. And it's, you know what? I didn't really care. I bought into the Pokemon, so that one worked. Yu-Gi-Oh, I kept buying the cards. Digimon was the one that was kind of like the strange one. But the point is, when I was watching the original series, I loved the big three. I loved the original big three. The problem with the original big three was the fan. Okay, here's a little history lesson before we get on with the announcement thing. We had the original big three back in the 90s: Yu-Gi-Oh, Digimon, Pokemon, and then we had the big three in the 2000s, mid to late 2000s, which is Naruto, Bleach, and One Piece. Those 3 series are, have their own. They all have their own fan bases, but all 3 of them can be liked by the same person without any nobody's gonna hate you for liking all 3. All right, sorry about that slight distraction. What was I? Right. The big 3, the second big 3, which is technically kind of dead already. You can like all 3 and no one's gonna throw hate on you. Okay, there are a lot of people a lot more understanding. In fact, there's a lot of people that like all 3. There's usually one that's kind of like the bad one of everybody has their bad one. But back in the 90s, at least for where I lived, the chances of somebody liking all 3 of them were so small that if you said you liked all 3 of them, people were gonna go crazy on you. It was just, there was no way. Okay, I was one of those that liked all 3 of them. I loved all 3 of them. But it was such a controversy. Like I said, this is where I live. This was such a controversy. People would be calling you out on your bullshit. And here's the thing. They would be saying about how the one that they like, because they would only like one of them, why it was so superior to the other 2, and they would try to change your mind about which one you like more. And there was a lot of arguing going on back then. I remember Pokemon's always been my favorite, so I would always put that one in front as like my shield. So it would help me out a little bit, because then I could get the ones that were like the Pokemon fans that like back me up without them actually knowing that I liked all 3. It was really weird back then. But the point is, it was really hard to actually find somebody that liked all 3 series, at least on a somewhat equal playing field. I always had Pokemon a little higher up, but I liked them all the same. Now, Yu-Gi-Oh is the one that, technically speaking, is the weaker of them in terms. Digimon went downhill after a while. Yu-Gi-Oh, at least the original series, was able to be on par with the original Digimon series and the original Pokemon series. And then GX kind of took a step forward, whereas Digimon started going down and Pokemon just stayed steady. Um, and then Yu-Gi-Oh dropped off, for at least for me. So when I read this article, because like I said, I'm going to leave a link to both articles in the description. When I read the article and it said that Yugi and Seto were the main characters of the movie, I got hyped because that was my that I love GX. I love GX, but I still prefer the original series to GX. Granted, like I said, GX, technically speaking, from a story point and character development, was a step up from the original, but I still prefer the original just because of you. To be quite honest, just because of Yugi and the rivalry with him and Kaiba. Um, so there's really not too much more information out yet on this whole thing. We didn't even have an English release date, which is a big deal. If you guys saw my Dragon Ball Z Battle of Frieza discussion, or Revival of Frieza discussion, that I posted earlier today, I'm not gonna watch these things until there's an English dub announced, because I watched the originals in English. I watched Dragon Ball Z in English. I can't watch it in Japanese. I honestly can't. Yu-Gi-Oh, the original, I watched in English. GX, I was mixed. I watched as much as I could in English, and I finished it off in Japanese because we didn't actually get the full series in English. So I watched the last ending parts in Japanese. So GX I can watch in Japanese no problem, but I can't watch the originals in Japanese. So I basically stuck until an English version is announced. Now they in the article it does state that they're looking for a way to distribute the English dub version, which if they do, well, thank you, because that's really the only way I'm gonna get a hold of this movie. The other thing that it does talk about, it's an original story, so we'll see how it goes. It's gonna pit Yugi and Seto again. That's basically the main goal of the movie. I'm excited to see what kind of story they're gonna pull out of their ass because that storyline is dead. I mean, if you really think about it, Yu-Gi-Oh! At least for me, I know the newer generations probably love the newer versions way more than the previous ones. I know plenty of people that love GX way more than the original series. So I understand that there's a progress that happens. I know plenty of people that love 5Ds. I couldn't stand to watch it, and Sexal was even worse. So for me, Yu-Gi-Oh died in GX, and so to think that they're bringing back these old characters, especially after the way that the series ended, because he's still Yami Yugi in this version. So I don't know. Like I said, this is literally they're pulling a story out of their ass. Because if you guys, it's a freaking 15-year-old series. If you don't know it by now, Yami Yugi ends up, we realize his real name, and he ends up having a duel with Yugi, and then he ends up going back to the spirit realm thing. So he's gone, right? That's the whole point. He's gone. So to think that he's coming back, it's kind of weird for a fan of that time. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to what they're gonna bring to the table. I can't wait to see what they have. Like I said, it's gonna be a story pulled out of their ass because that series itself ended years ago. But I like the fact that it's a celebration of their 20th year. The cards, I'm pretty sure I don't know if the cards are still doing well. I know that when I was a kid, they sold really well for the people that liked Yu-Gi-Oh. Even people who didn't like the series bought the cards. So, I mean, it was still some marketing by the fans of the series. So, I remember the GX sets that were existed. I remember seeing 5Ds and how bullshit a lot of those cards are. I didn't even touch those. I kind of like in terms of buying decks and making new decks, I stopped it like around the start of GX. I didn't really get too much into the GX, fusions and stuff like that, and the whole new cards and stuff like that. But 5Ds is bullshit. I'm sorry, this is bullshit. And I don't even know anything about Sexal. I don't know if, like I said, I don't know if that actually made it a thing. But yeah, that's basically all I want to talk about. If you guys see more news, let me know. I'm really intrigued to know if anything new comes out. As much as I love Yu-Gi-Oh, I'm not gonna be like constantly looking up information about it. So I might, like, I know it's a whole year away, so it's not like it's a really big deal. But if there's something new comes up that you might think I would be interested in, let me know in the comments or a message or a tweet or something. Let me know. I want to know. I want to be informed. Um, and I think that's basically it. I think that's all I want to talk about. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the first full Viewer Friday uh, that I'm producing. Hopefully it all worked out just fine. I hope you guys all had a great time. If you haven't seen the Dragon Ball Z Revival Frieza video, I'm going to leave a link in the description so you guys go check that out if you guys want to. Of course, it's all up to you. I don't mind. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm SoresanCrockxen, and I'll see you guys in future videos.